voter who is heartbroken.
Mm.
She's all shook up.
All shook up.
She's all shook up. She
Shook up.
said, I done been shook down because of what Donald Trump has done to her.
Mm.
Listen to this.
If you could say anything to President Trump now, what would you say?
I expected better from you. I really did. I expected that you would do what was right and cut waste and fraud and all of those things that you promised us before we elected you in office, but you're not doing that. You're creating a disaster, and I don't know what America's going to look like if this continues.
Did you ever think that your job would be impacted in a Trump administration?
No, absolutely not.
Jennifer Piggott was abruptly fired from her job at the Treasury Department's Bureau of Fiscal Service here in Parkersburg, West Virginia, along with 124 other probationary employees. She'd voted for Donald Trump and thought her government job would be safe.
But to cut the knees out of the working class Americans just doesn't make sense to me. You know, it's what's the checking account look like, babe? We went through our list of items on our budget and said, what can we get rid of? And we've gotten rid of all of those things, including cable. I had my last review on the 31st of January, and I had the highest rating that you can get on a review, less than 21 days before I was terminated for my performance.
On top of losing her job, Jennifer is facing backlash from both Democrats and Republicans for speaking out. She's received death threats and more.
Our home's been egged. You know, they've hacked my Instagram and posted horrible things about my deceased mother.
So, and nobody should be getting death threats. That's ridiculous. But this is what I'm talking about. And we're seeing this time and time again. You don't care until it's turned on you. That is shameful.
There was a poll I looked at an analysis recently that said there were some Trump voters who were upset about what he was doing, but they said they would still vote for it.
And there's that.
Yep.
And that's where we are.
Yeah.
And I've said it time and time again. You didn't realize you were they them. Reese Colbert has said it. You didn't realize you were they them. Now look at you. This is where we are.
Like,
we keep seeing these stories.
I want to know what you think about those who, because she's not said, you know, I'm going to vote for a Democrat next time. She basically just said, you know, Trump's not doing what I thought. It's shameful. He's cutting the knees out of the middle class, which basically means white folks. But the fact that she's gotten death threats, her house egged, which the suggestion is that that's from MAGA folks. What do you think is happening there? Because she's not like, I'm, you know, not MAGA anymore, but like what is that?
Let me tell you something. When I interviewed the survivors of the Jonestown Massacre, one of the things, and that happened in 1978, and Jim Jones, a disgusting cult leader, led countless people to Guyana, Jonestown, Guyana, and it ended up in a murder-suicide. But the survivors of it told me they believe it was more of a murder. And they believed that there were people trying to escape and they were being killed.
Mm-hmm.
That all those people did not kill themselves. Mm-hmm. And so I think in a cult, when you see people go outside of the cult, those people sometimes act out. Mm-hmm. I do believe MAGA is cultish to me. Mm-hmm. And so I think when they see her voicing her regrets, then they're turning on her. And this is why I always said, you know, what's happening in our country and where we are right now, it's just, I knew that we were all going to be impacted. It wouldn't just be black folks. It wouldn't just be trans folks. All of us would be impacted. This person right here thought it would happen to everybody else except for them. Why does everybody think that the bullet's going to stop with somebody else? Mm-hmm. That's not how this works. That's not how it works in history. That's not how it works in world history. Damn sure ain't American history. So that's where we are, and it's shameful. And with someone like that, it's very difficult to have any kind of sympathy. I don't think, not for the death threats, that's ridiculous. But it's like, well, you got what you voted for. Your vote has consequences. And why are you surprised? He said he would do it. Yep. Or did you think you had that protection? Yep. You know, you thought you had it.
I will say I don't feel any sympathy for her, zero zilch. What I do feel is I do feel sympathy for people like her who make those choices whose children are impacted because their parents did something
Right.
that didn't serve their best interest. I do feel badly for those situations. I have a friend I hadn't spoken to in a few weeks who called me 3 days ago to tell me that he's been out of it because 6 weeks ago he lost his job because of DOGE. He was a contract worker at the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta. Good job, gainfully employed, went to work on a Wednesday and was told this is your last day. So he's been out of work now for 6 weeks. He's a person who voted for Kamala Harris, who did his due diligence. But this to your point you just made, and the fact the things we've been saying for weeks and months now. There are people who did do their due diligence, people who did show up to vote for the vice president. And we're going to all be impacted in some way. I don't care who you are. If you live in this country, right, and you buy eggs and grocery and what I'm saying, you get mail, or you have Social Security checks come, whatever it is, you're going to be impacted in some way. Unless you are like uber wealthy, which most of us are not. You are going to feel it in some way with some disruption. And I think it's just the chaos and the cruelty. I think that is the point. I think the cruelty is the point. I just read something earlier today where they're talking about defunding research for pregnant women who are victims of domestic violence. And yeah. I think that people are just like, what? But they are doing these cuts in the most awful, unsophisticated, horrible way possible without any care of who they impact. Because again, the person leading DOGE is Elon Musk, who is the richest man in the world. And he's being instructed by Donald Trump, somebody else who's white, privileged, and wealthy. So when you have wealthy,
but also, I agree with you on that. But ultimately, this is happening because on November 4th, a lot of people decided to support the guy who said he has concepts of a plan, who said, who Project 2025 said what they would do. So there's a whole level of this was not done in secrecy.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm surprised it ain't worse. And it's going to get worse. I mean, this is exactly what they said they would do. And now you're shocked. Now you're surprised. It is some bizarre poetic justice.
It is.
The person who wrote in their name loses their job. The person who voted for Trump is impacted. It's some bizarre justice. And I don't mean that in a good way. Trump said he would get retribution. Y'all are being targeted for that. And the only reason, whether it is the person who I interviewed yesterday or that clip that I just played, the only reason why you might be okay is because there are Democrats in office who are using the courts, who are fighting to make sure you're going to be okay. Now, if that don't encourage you to show up and vote and make the right decision, I don't know what to say. But that will be the only way we'll get through this. If there are people who will fight for you, and more than they're going to have that blue by their name. Not because Democrats are perfect, not because of that, but because this is where we are right now.